Hey everybody, I'm glad to see that you didn't get scared away in the first week. Welcome to week 2. We're going to talk a little bit about scholarly research. What I usually refer to it as, and you'll see me referring to it in discussion responses and in these videos, I usually refer to it as the scientific literature. Tomato, tomato, whenever we're talking about this. This is going to be a really multifaceted lesson. There's a lot of information here. So if this is something it's fairly new to you, if you're not super familiar with the scientific literature, I really want to make sure you take your time. There's going to be a lot to absorb here. The whole purpose of this chapter is for you to get your feet wet on identifying good and bad research. So you guys remember Ben Goldacre in your first lesson. He had a great TED Talk about bad science. You also remember from last week, I'm sure, that the scientific method includes a step about reporting findings. Now, it's important that these findings be accurate, that they be useful, and the scientific literature kind of provides the standardized reviewed process as scientists are called upon to vet the research that goes into scientific journals, reviewed on some standardized criteria. Unfortunately, it's not foolproof. Otherwise, bad science wouldn't exist. So unfortunately, there are some bad articles that make it out there. A good example of this would be the vaccine article that everybody by now is very familiar with that, incorrectly tied vaccines to autism. It turned out that was a bad science paper. It had a lot of flaws. It had some bias, but it got out there and you saw the damage that it has done. So it's important for you guys as readers of the scientific literature to know when something is good or when something is bad. And that's not something you're going to learn in a week. It's not something that you're going to magically be an expert at the end of this when you do your discussion, but it's something you're going to start doing this week, and I want you to kind of continue to grow in your skills for this throughout the rest of the course. If nothing else, what I want you to get from this course is the ability to recognize good and bad research in the literature and know how to incorporate that or avoid it in your practice. So this lesson is going to talk about a real basic primer of scientific literature. It's going to talk to you about the chapters that go into it. It's going to talk to you about APA style. For right now in this lesson, you might be wondering, well, who cares? We're not writing papers. We're not scientists. There is a written assignment in this class, and APA style is a very important part of it on the rubric. It's important because it just makes your work look professional. When you're writing things out, I think it's really important for you to come across as being educated, knowing what you're talking about whenever you're writing. And I really encourage that in your discussion posts, although a little bit of informality and that is okay. I mean, we're all just kind of talking amongst ourselves, but when you're putting something out there for the scientific literature, it's important that it looks clean, it looks neat, organized, and it needs to be, no spelling mistakes, no grammar mistakes, and that's where APA comes in. So really familiarize yourself with it. I've given you a few resources here. You're going to need it for your paper, and for those of you guys who just really aren't strong writers, I really, really encourage you to use this opportunity with this online course and all the discussions you're going to be writing out to come up with some tools for yourself to be able to kind of improve your writing and make yourself come across as more, believable, more legitimate. Trust me, I know. I am a grown adult who works in scientific community who wears comic book t-shirts. It's important for me to be able to write like I know what I'm talking about, because I don't always look like I know what I'm talking about. So on top of that, you guys are going to have some evaluation criteria that will help you with this in your Hauser textbook. Which is really, really helpful because it's not just kind of talking to you about what should be in there, but just kind of how to evaluate that for yourself. And so your discussion this week is going to be your first practice attempt at kind of evaluating an article that I've given you. I want you guys to there are 6 guidelines that Hauser gives you in the textbook. I want you to pick one of them. Try not to double up if you can kind of pay attention to what other people have written so people don't get kind of bored or reading the same guideline over and over, the same things over and over. So try to mix it up as much as you can. There's only 6, so there's going to be doubles. But evaluate this article based on the criterion that you choose and explain it and kind of give us your background, but make sure it's all based on the stuff that you're learning this week. There are a lot of resources, so feel free to use them all and kind of go through and really familiarize yourself with this. This is a skill you're going to be building for the rest of your career. So I'm kind of excited to get you guys started on it now. As always, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me on the questions for the instructor board, or you can send me an email, call me, set up an appointment, whatever you need to do. Enjoy this week's lesson and enjoy the discussion. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Thanks.